Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Attacker Productions. Today I bankrupt once again by Austin, and like always, Fluff.
Hello.
What's up, beautiful people?
And today's matchup is me versus Fluff. Fluff has brought back one of, I think, his favorites from, was it 14, I think it was? Zamasu?
No,
16.
this was 16, yeah.
Zamasu Wish, and I've decided to bring Metacooler because I felt like no one from the shop was going to bring that. I was wrong. We had someone who was very interested, and they brought it as well. That was fun. Like always, just buttons down below. Feel free to click up to there for reasons. But let's get today's matchup.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little bit about your thought process building this Metacooler deck? What does the deck want to do for anyone that might be unfamiliar with it?
So, Metacooler, in its entirety, vomits infinite multiplication coolers. Either through the leader swing, through the field card, or through the plays of other cards. So a leader card, when you swing, you take a life, you play one from your deck, which is pretty cool. You're not getting the extra draw from the leader swing, but you are thinning the deck out, which helps out. You do have to burst 2 cards as part of that auto. So there's a good chance you could burst key cards you want. And I think I do burst my Vegeta, Unison, and a Dorm Potential, which was whatever. The field card, you pay 1, you burst 1, and then you search the top 3 cards of your deck, and you get to play Infinite Multiplication Cooler as well. And then there is a 1-drop on swing. You take a life, you play 1 from deck, but that one plays in Investment. That's the card right there you see. And there's another card. Jimmy got to witness this one in our matchup. You pay 2 to play it. You search the top 7 cards of your deck, and you get to play up to 3 Infinite Multiplication Coolers in rest mode. The only time I've ever played that, I whiffed somehow. Sure, whatever. The leader itself benefits from having at least 20 or more of these coolers on board, and it has to be the not on board, either energy board or drop area, and it has to be the Infinite Multiplication Coolers for this to work, but it gets like a 5k boost. Just in general, like, doesn't matter where, like, whose turn it is. It comes at 20k, which is pretty nice, but the problem is that felt like a trap when building this deck. I was like, I gotta incorporate this many things here. And then if I want to benefit off the field cards effect of paying 1 energy, I need to at least play, like, 30 of these coolers. But then you begin to not have room for other cards that are just good in general for green. Like, you want to play Unison, you want to play Dormant, you want to play Prismatic. Those are good green cards. And the Unison for this deck from the archetype, I did not believe was the best one for this. I think they just made it to make it. This deck felt like, I do have a decent sized hand right now. I felt like the potential of having a big hand was very small with the Unison they wanted you to play, because it discards cards and your opponent discards card. There's only like 1 or 2 cards in the whole archetype that discards cards. So if you want to use that Unison, you have to find room to play all these other cards that cause your opponent to discard cards, and it just felt bad. Mm-hmm. So after talking with Fluff and going from one Unison to another, we eventually figured out which one I think works best for this one. It doesn't work best for the field, and we'll go over that when we get to that point. Fluff, you want to go over a little bit about Zamasu?
Yeah, so Zamasu is almost like an old Wish deck where, you run, in my case, it's 4 Coercion, 3 Dragon Balls. But basically your goal to get Awakened, and what makes this match particularly difficult, is in order to Awaken, I either have to have 7 Dragon Balls in the drop area, or I have to be at 3 life, which is dangerous considering how wide and relevant all of those Infinite Multiplication Coolers are. But basically, this deck sacrifices gods in hand with the coercions to draw 2. And when you awaken, unlike other Wish leaders, you put all the Dragon Balls back in the deck. So once you're awakened, you're again fetching a Dragon Ball, which is like a +1 to hand. But then you're getting rid of a card that might be like a dead god card that is kind of awkward to play at any given time, in exchange for drawing 2 and increasing the quality of your hand. Now, it is weird, and I'll say this deck is incredibly difficult to sequence. I've had a lot of issues with sequencing this deck You saw on turn 2, I played the Goku Black, but that is 2 specified blue, and I spaced on it. I thought it was 1 specified blue at the time of recording, but it is 2 specified blue. I did have a 9-drop in hand that I could have charged instead of charging the Steadfast Assistance. So I would have been able to play it either way.
My turn 2 felt very explosive, but you were able to just shut that down because you have access to what's good for yellow, and that's good yellow extra cards. You're able to tap down 2 cards here. Use a super combo there. You did have to take a crit, which I was glad because it was another super combo. But you only took 1 damage from a potential, what is that, 5-6 attacks? You know?
Yeah. It's really the only way that I survived this match. I got really unlucky. I didn't hit any Dragon Balls in life, which I was thankful for, but I didn't start with any Dragon Balls or coercions in hand, and I didn't draw into any off of the ones that I played. So I'm only getting 2 per turn, which puts me into Awaken on turn 4. So I have to go 4 turns trying to play through your aggro, where you're swinging at me with recurrent 15Ks on a 10K leader. And I don't really want to Awaken without seeing all the Dragon Balls and moving through the cards in my deck.
It's fair.
So I don't want you to take me down to 3.
So, talk about the freezer for a bit, the Unison. The first thought for this Unison was like, oh yeah, I could +1, you draw a card, you put 1 card back top of your deck, it now has crit, great. And my brain, I remember when I was with this deck, like, oh yeah, then you could just activate the field card and just, there it is for you. Well, the field card bursts 1, so it doesn't work with that interaction. But in my experience, I don't really use the field card a lot, and I like the Frieza's -2 ability when I know I need extra protection. Like, if I'm not seeing a Dormant, as you saw earlier, I did burst 1. So having a -2 ability could come in clutch, especially in a deck that I like. If they still need to attack 3 or 4 times to kill me in a turn, but you managed to kill my Unison during your turn.
Yeah, I didn't want to give you additional hand resources because I know cards in your hand usually end up turning into more infinite multiplication coolers on the field. So I didn't want to give you more cards in hand. And I didn't, if I have to take a damage, I don't want to take a critical. Yeah. And it's harder for yellow to interact with Unisons. So it made more sense for me to just clear that Unison off while I could.
And you having 2 of these Mecha Freezes was just stupid. I was so happy. I'm like, aha, I got a solution. And I saw it again, and you're like, I got another one, bro. I'm like, shit.
Yeah, that's... Yeah. You asked the universe for a prize, and it denied you. That Dodoria is really good, especially in decks that recurrently play Unisons.
Yeah.
Like, I respect the hell out of that Dodoria, especially, the Dodoria, the Vegeta Resolve Renewed. They're just essential for this point in the game, especially if you're playing something that resembles aggro.
Yeah. And I felt like it's something good. Like, normally I have this card like in a sideboard if I know I'm going against a deck that that can use flood control. But in this deck, I felt like it was just more important as a main deck card because, as you see, I can just amass cards so quickly and so cheaply.
In the meta right now, I think you have to main board cards like that.
It's really important. Especially against yellow, because I think yellow has probably the most relevant floodgate because Robotic Boss only costs 1. So I think that's why it needs, if you're playing against yellow, if you have it on your side, you automatically put it in your main board from the side.
From turn 1, it's 1 energy for this deck too. Because
of the coercions and the Dragon Balls.
Yep.
Yeah. The coercions costs are a yellow extra card. So they automatically set up your Steadfast Alliance and the Charismatics, or the Robotic Boss.
Yeah.
Pretty good. You read Nimbus in this deck too, don't you, Fluff?
I sided.
Oh, okay. Did you side it in for this match?
I don't think you did.
I don't think I did.
Just didn't think you needed to.
No, I knew that because he was going to be very battle card based. The Black Kamehamehas, the Robotic Ripostes, they were going to do enough of the work, and I have enough removal built into the deck that I can keep his field size, reduced a little bit.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
And Nimbus just isn't as good as it used to be.
Oh yeah, I just figured this is a very battle card heavy deck. It gets some use, get some mileage in.
Now, I do want to. I meant to mention earlier. I did pass turn when I had one more attack to do. I just forgot that I could tap the field card.
Oh, oof.
Yeah. It felt really good when I realized it. I think I realized in the match, I'm like, I could have swung again. And you're like, yep. And I'm like, oh, man.
It actually felt really good that you forgot to do that, because that was one less attack that I had to try to defend.
Yeah.
It's always nice when there's little slip-ups like that for the opponent, at least. So
it's good.
Okay. You had mentioned before that you had thought about putting in the 3-drop cooler Unison, Metacooler Unison instead of the Frieza. Do you think you'll do that in the future, or are you sticking to this crit Frieza because of one, it's crit, and two, the -2?
It's a cheaper Unison to play. With the ability of putting so you could technically do the +1 first, draw one, and then put an infant multiplication cooler on top of the deck, and then when you swing with the leader, you're either drawing it back if you're on the front side, but if you're on the back side, if you're on the front side, you can just play it because it's in the deck, but on the front side you're drawing a card, so it doesn't really matter there, unfortunately. For me, it was just I needed a good Unison, and this one felt the best. The one comes with a set. The benefit to that one is that I could tap 3 of my battle cards, or the infant multiplication coolers, to play it. That way, I'm not burning any of my
energy
for it. But at the same time, I did not like its plus or minuses.
I don't like it either. I think it's a very subpar Unison, even for the archetype.
So this interaction was annoying, is the best way to put it. I can no longer swing with my Unison, which hurts. And maybe I should have swung with the Unison first, just to get it out of the way. But I felt like if I would have done that, there's a good chance you would have tapped 2 of my cards. So here, you're at 2 life. I'm trying my best to get you down to 1 life. And you see there, I almost went to combo off the cards on the board, but I realized I need them on the board. I need both of those cards on the board. So I come with a 20. You're able to combo out of it. And to be told, that was all I could combo out. If I was able to get that 1 more damage on you, if I'll have to expend the 2 cards I have in active mode, I could have just played Cell and just swung a 40k at you next. Knowing I wouldn't get any of the other Cell's abilities, but it would have been a 40k that I could swing at you, putting all my other cards into my drop for my next turn.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't get that extra damage on you, unfortunately, in that moment.
Yeah, this is a really sticky situation to be in. And it's one of those instances I mentioned earlier that I feel like the Goku Black Wish deck is incredibly difficult to pilot. And one of the reasons that it's so difficult to pilot is the cards that it plays are not, when you're playing them, it's like you're sacrificing consistency to play them. Or there's never a quote unquote opportune moment to play them. And so here, I think I swing Kai. I should have cracked the Kai immediately after swinging with her, but I swung with lead, and it gives you an opportunity to use those active mode cards to combo off with.
Yeah.
When I should have just blown the field up and eliminated your ability to do that.
So I would have had to expend cards from my own hand then instead, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And you cracking Kai was the most heartening thing. Like it was just bad because I said, I have Cell in my hand. I have the extra card in my hand where you could play up to 100 coolers from your drop area. I only have 2 coolers in my drop area right now, and all those cards you just hit with Kai go to my warp.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was just really, it was really painful. This is another instance, real quick. He could have tapped the Goku instead of he could tap Rose instead of Goku for that blue effect, and a little bit of confusion on the wording here on this effect. Technically, that card has Indestructible, and I remember asking, "Can you do that?" We do get Jimmy to come over, and we kind of take a couple steps back, and you end up not playing that card as a part of that effect because you won't be able to sacrifice it. Because it's one of my skills that's causing you to do that.
The -2 on the freeze is coming in incredibly relevant this turn. It really halts a lot of my momentum for this turn, and I think I just end up passing without putting on additional pressure.
Sometimes it's smart to do that, especially with that effect.
And I don't think this matters, but I think you reset the wrong energy by accident, but it doesn't really matter at this point. I think it has to be a blue-yellow energy you reset, right?
I thought it was just one of your energy, but I could be wrong.
I might have it mix up the Rose card right now. So I can't charge a card right now. I have 2 multicolored cards that will not charge in active mode, and I have an extra card I could charge, but it would pain me to charge it because technically it's a negate. So I just gotta do what I gotta do using Leader's Effect to play a card based on the card I also drew. Was a very, I think, key card that I needed to hang on to as well.
I'm actually worried about your turn here. I'm not sure what you were keeping close to the cuff. I figured maybe you had Cell in hand. So I wasn't worried about another Cell hitting the field, but you just established another Unison here.
Yeah.
And I was really afraid of you cracking the -2 on it, but I think you end up going +1.
So I go +1 here because it's just a crit. You do use a blocker negate on me, unfortunately. And this is one of those moments where having a particular overrun card would have come in handy, but I don't have that. So I just swing with a 15k card, you combo out, and I end up paying 2 more for another Unison.
Yeah.
Go for a swing. I know your hand's at a certain point, but this is all I can combo with, and it puts it to 20k. And my goal here is to either just get you to use the cards on the field or expend more resources from your own hand so I can then follow up with a -2 and hope I can survive one more turn to actually go into you. Because I'm coming off a cooler here. I have one in the battlefield. So on my following turn, I can actually charge a card and then pay the 5 to play at least 3 to 4 more coolers now.
Yeah. That's every game that I've had with Goku Black, the games are like they're always competitive. This deck sequences so weirdly that it puts you into like a weird space. Like I'm just now finding an opportunity to board out my 5-drop. And I'm gonna try to go into the 9-drop this turn. But like really, those are so integral to the engine because of what they do that you would want to play them earlier. But there's oftentimes like if you are playing them, you're taking an additional 2 to 3 damage a turn for having played them.
Yeah. And be able to establish the 5, like I said, going into 9-drop, which I think you do in the second. It's double strike, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. 35 double strike, if correct?
Yeah. 35,000 double strike.
So swinging of your leader, I was really banking on drawing into one of my blocker negate cards here. That way I could just survive your next attack.
Yeah.
And because you have to pop a card. So like you only have one more attack initially, and I was like, that's it. Like when you pop that card, I can't combo out.
Oh.
And I'm here. I'm showing those 3 cards are the cards I started with on that following turn. I'm like, I can't charge any of this.
Yeah. Why didn't you charge Selzeno?
Because it would have been in rest mode and it wouldn't have mattered. But with that being said, thank you for tuning in. Keep in mind, there's buttons down below and, comment section. Put stuff there. We'll respond to it when we get a chance. And Fluff, would you lead us out?
I wasn't initially worried about Metacooler, but that ended up being much more of a greaser of a match than I thought it was going to be. So good job throwing that one together, Bancroft. As always, read your cards, know your plays, let us make the mistakes so that you don't have to, and Fluff out.